Hello, everybody, and welcome to this edition of Talks with Sato. Today, we're here with Sasha. Sasha, how are you doing?
Hey Jan, I'm doing great. Thanks for having me today on the show.
And for coming here and talk a little bit more about your project here with us. I want to start with a quick question: Is can you explain what Rootstock Collective is and why it was created?
Absolutely. So the Rootstock Collective is a Bitcoin L2 DAO built on Rootstock, and it's basically aiming to leverage like security and the decentralized ethos of Bitcoin. The main reason why we created it is basically to empower the builders by facilitating decentralized governance and resource allocation for innovative projects, but also help with the bigger problem that Bitcoin has, which is a fair value capture to builders, but also to backers of those projects.
Okay, sounds great. Um, how does Rootstock Collective integrate with the Rootstock platform? I want to know that.
Great question. So the Rootstock Collective is, of course, like closely tied to the Rootstock platform. Like it's completely built on it. It's basically functioning as a governance layer, if you will, and it's still leveraging like Bitcoin security through Rootstock while supporting the smart contract functionality via Rootstock's technology as well.
Okay, that's great. Well, I want to ask you something. Maybe it's a personal thought. Uh, when you started with Bitcoin, do you remember in what year you joined into Bitcoin?
I would say like quite late to the party. I was like in 2020, 2021, like was when I personally first tapped into Bitcoin. And before the Rootstock Collective, I joined Rootstock Labs and was working there for about 3.5 years. So that was like April 2021 when I joined. So in a professional role, but a little before in a private interest, if you will.
Perfect. No, you are not so late, and never is late. So, want to know because I saw a lot of that in the Rooster Collective webpage. Is how does Rooster Collective empower the Rooster community?
So I would say like it allows the community, like all the different stakeholders that are participating, to have a direct voice in the platform's future, right? By voting on proposals, allocating grants, and basically driving the growth of the ecosystem. And we are just like at the starting point at the moment. I mean, we just launched like 4 weeks ago, right? So basically, the overall idea is also to allow builders to generate additional values and over time also deliver like a similar functionality to the backers, like basically the people that are active and vote within that community, to address the topic that I mentioned earlier around like value capture on Bitcoin.
Okay, that's perfect. Well, I want to know a little bit about DAO. So I want to ask, why was a DAO model chosen for Rooster Collective governance?
Another great question. So we've really indeed been thinking about that for quite some time, to figure out like what's the perfect approach for us. And I think a DAO model like really helps to ensure, first of all, like decentralization, but also create a huge level of transparency, shared governance, and it also, I believe, like aligns pretty much with the Bitcoin ethos around like the community-driven progress.
Okay, that's nice. I think Rooster Collective is very democratic project, no? You can vote and you can participate so much more in Rooster with Rooster
Absolutely, yeah.
Collective. Yeah, that's great. That's what we need. So well, I want to know. I think it's important, very important in this community. So, what are some of the early successes or achievements of Rooster Collective since its launch?
Um, I would say, with as I said, like it's still pretty young, right? Like 4 weeks ago, we launched, and I would say we had a pretty good traction from the very beginning. Like on day one, within the first 24 hours, we managed to get a total amount of 4.5 million RIF staked. I think now it's like 6.65 ish. So we still see a growth happening, right? Like, but within the first 24 hours we really managed to activate like huge parts of the community already and to basically show them that there's a really cool new use case for them. And yeah, there was quite some traction happening from the very beginning. And we, on top of that, also launched a first wave of grants on the DAO, which is quite novel to Bitcoin, or Bitcoin layer twos, if you will. And there we had like also the first participants like receiving grants, which is also quite good to see, like that all the system is working, and the first community votes took place. So I would say overall that's already quite a good success. And again, like we're just like in the very starting phase, so there's a lot more to expect and to come over the next couple of weeks and months.
Okay, perfect. So I think it's pretty young Rootstock Collective. So it's been like a month with Rootstock Collective.
Yeah, absolutely. So it's really like, and ever since we launched, it really feels like everything is going basically in autopilot, because there was, I mean, like if you've ever been involved in any kind of launch, um, uh, it's like that intense phase just before the launch, how it like ramps up, and then from the launch onwards, it's just like full throttle and go 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 in order to make sure to really make it a success from that very beginning. So it has it has been quite an amazing journey so far, and I'm pretty sure it will also be not getting any boring in the next couple weeks and months.
Yeah, that's great. Well, want to know? Well, you are talking. It's pretty young Rootstock Collective, and I think I have a lot of future. So, what excites you most about the future of Rootstock Collective?
Um, I think the continued integration like of Bitcoin into DeFi, right? Like the growth of the community participation, broader adoption of the decentralized governance, the Bitcoin ecosystem, sorry, the decentralized governance across the Bitcoin ecosystem, I think is particularly exciting. Plus the massive opportunities that we will create not only for the builders throughout their whole journey, but also for the stakers, which we now call backers, and I can explain that at a later point. So those opportunities, especially for the builders, it's really meant to be part of their whole journey from the very beginning. Like, let's say you just joined your first hackathon, maybe it was sponsored by Rootstock. You participated with a group of people that you just met a week ago on Discord. You're there, you want to get going. So one of the first things you can do is start applying for our grants program, which is quite cool, and also easy to participate in. But at the later stage, and I don't want to tease too much, but I can share some more details later. We also want to reflect like that whole developer journey. So from that one-man show showing up at the hackathon, all the way through receiving your first grant to being a very sustainable project that maybe is already like at a team size of 10, 20, whatever people, and still participates and prosper in the idea of the Rootstock Collective.
Yeah, sounds great. You have an interesting expectative, and I think it will be the future of Rootstock Collective. So, well, I want to know a little bit. I want to talk a little bit about governance. I think it's important to know how does the
Mhm.
governance system within Rootstock Collective work.
So the governance is also pretty simple and straightforward, actually. It's like decentralized and driven by the community members who stake RIF or basically converted to staked RIF and then stake those staked RIF like in the DAO. And that allows them like to participate in the votes, but also, of course, like to submit proposals and execute based on the collective's decision-making process. Process, yes.
Okay, great. So, well, talking about that, want to know a little bit. Can you explain the voting mechanism in place and how does one submit a proposal?
Absolutely. So the community members can easily submit proposals, which are then reviewed and voted on by the token holders. To become a token holder, as said, you just need to convert your RIF into staked RIF, and you will have like the voting power, but also the opportunity to send in proposals. This basically ensures that the decision making remains inclusive and decentralized. And actually, a funny story, because yesterday was the day when we, as the Rootstock Collective, put on the first proposal into the DAO ourselves for the roadmap of the next 5 to 6 months, where we wanted also, of course, to get like the full validation of the community and make sure to have full alignment with the folks in the community as well, with all the things that we have planned for the next couple of months there.
That's great. So, you have the first proposal. Maybe you're gonna have a lot of proposals.
Yeah,
the
we
proposal?
already have like a couple. Sorry to interrupt you there, Jan. We already had a couple of proposals around that first grants wave because
Yeah,
every grantee or participant in the grants, of course, also have to fill in a proposal. But it was really the first one that we did as Rootstock Collective, in order to get like the approval from the community, and it was really exciting, like to go for it and like to go through the whole process yourself and then see it listed there. And again, like similar to the stake drift that we initially saw, and the traction it built up, we also see a huge participation already on that proposal, because I think I just checked before we started our podcast today, and I think we're already like at 75+% of yes votes, which is quite good to see. So the community seems to like what we think of for development in that bootstrapping phase over the next 6 months, and approves our thoughts there.
that sounds great. So, well, talking about that want to know, maybe for the people who wants to make a proposal, what kind of proposals are eligible for voting within the DAO?
So at the moment we are more on the builders focus. So through the grants program, as said, like this is really still very early days. So at the moment it's mainly around that part. But we will also plan, or we will not also plan. We will also have like more and more things opening up for the community there. But basically, every proposal just it needs to align like with the core mission of the DAO, right? It's like about expanding Bitcoin and the DeFi ecosystem, and it's also thought like for meaningful participation. Like we really want to see stuff that adds like to the ecosystem, but it can be on the builder side, but it can also be of course like on the staker side. And over time we will also transfer more and more like different voting powers to the community. And yeah, maybe one thing to mention, like the default timeframes at the moment that we've set is 7 days for a proposal.
Okay, nice. It's quick as it's fast. So
Yeah, exactly.
yeah, that's the important thing. You don't need to wait a lot of time. 7 days. That's it. Well, want to know maybe for the people, the rest of people that are watching us, how can members of the Russo community can get involved in the DAO?
So basically, everyone from the whole Rootstock community can join, right? Like either if you're already like an existing builder and you wanna like participate on the builder side, but also maybe on the staker side. So it's basically open for everyone. So either you're interested in building that decentralized governance and being very active around that, or you want to participate in Prosper as a builder. So everyone is highly welcome. And it's of course like not only open to the existing Rootstock community, it's literally open to everyone, like builders on Bitcoin, but also like builders on Ethereum. Like everyone can join and yeah, be part of that journey.
Yeah, for sure. It's for everyone
Yeah,
and by everyone. So, well, I want to
exactly.
know what initiatives are in place to onboard new users to Russo Collective?
Um, So at the moment on the builder side, as said, we have the grants program, which is the first thing to get us going. And we on top gonna add like multiple other things that also allow like those more mature builders to participate in the collective and get like some additional value capture for them. On the, let's say, user staker slash backer side, at the moment we are pretty heavily focused on generating traction through different quest campaigns. We are working very closely with different Galaxy campaigns here at the moment. In real life, of course, like we try to also link ourselves as the Rootstock collective to certain initiatives that are driven by Rootstock itself. So for instance, when there's like hackathons and stuff, we of course also already like let the people know that hey, there is something for you where you can like join after that hackathon, which then is the grants program in the Rootstock collective. So we also try to be very connected there, and wherever we see like also in real life some kind of like traction and interaction happening, of course like also participate in that.
Yeah, that's an important thing. If the people can see how easily it is to use Russo Collective and how easy it is to
Yeah.
join and use the DAO, that could be useful for everyone. So, can you talk about the educational resources available for developers interested in building on Rootstock?
Um, Yeah, I think like overall, that's probably more a question like for the folks at Rootstock, especially like the developer experience people. But I know that there was just recently a big revamp happening of the whole developers portal. So with like a way easier structure, like to access all that material and to actually start building on Rootstock. So just check out the developer portal on Rootstock would be one good recommendation. Or of course, again, if people are showing up on a hackathon, like to just directly be in touch with the team. We typically send quite massive teams to those hackathons to really make sure to best support everyone who's interested in building on Bitcoin. And one fun fact also there to share, I was, for instance, like on the token 2049 in Singapore and at the ETH Global event right after, which was a very impressive hackathon live there with a bit over 300 participating projects. And I think almost 30, if I remember correctly, of those projects built only on Rootstock. So I think there's also quite some good traction happening at the moment in the market. And there's definitely a clear focus as well on the Bitcoin L2 space, because I think it's just very interesting also for all the folks that were used to build on other sorry, blockchains before to like tap into Bitcoin and discover like that huge like opportunity behind it, especially now with programs like the grants and other supporting initiatives that are happening in the Bitcoin L2 space.
Yeah, sounds great. I work sometimes as a developer and I like to develop, so I'll take a
Ah,
look
okay.
on Russo Collective. So I want to know a little bit what role does community feedback play in shaping the future of Russo Collective?
Um, yeah, again, like the whole thing is meant to be driven by the community, right? So the proto Bitcoin community there plays like a foundational role in the Rootstock collective, and like everything that basically comes back from the community members should be heard and should also be like incorporated in the future of the Rootstock collective. So again, people can put their proposals in. They can be very active in the forum. We really want to listen to the people. We want to make it like a, yeah, I mean that's also the reason for the name, right? Like it's a collective, so
Yeah.
it's a work of the community to make the best out of the whole thing, by supporting those different projects, but also to make sure that the collective itself, like the DAO itself, goes in the right direction.
Yeah, that sounds great. It's important for all the people in Rostock to have the power of make decisions and make proposals on it, and
Absolutely.
Rostock Collective makes it more easy. So, are there any notable partnerships or collaborations that have emerged from Rostock Collective? Maybe we can do one between Money on Chain and Rostock Collective.
Yeah, that would be great. That's true, and I think it's a great opportunity for Money on Chain, of course. Also, like to join the collective. Yeah, so far I would say like from the first grants wave, the one project that got a lot of traction there was Asami Club, and I think they're also quite close to you guys, right?
Yeah.
And on the other side, like for us as the collective, why we ramped up, but also now around the launch and after the launch, we had like a lot of interaction, like with players like Outlier Ventures, who helped us a lot also with like getting the tokenomics and everything right, and also thinking about certain mechanisms that we want to implement and have implemented already, like in the DAO. Then we have quite a good partnership, like with Stable Labs. So a lot of the folks that have done MakerDAO a while ago and are now still very much involved with Sky. What is the new MakerDAO or the successor of the MakerDAO, right? So when we talk about governance and things around that and how we can improve our governance structure, Stable Lab is a very essential part here. And then of course, like also because marketing is very important to make sure like your product also gets transferred in the world out there and people know about it, very closely. We're collaborating with Myosin on that, like all the different go-to-market approaches like socials, PR, but also of course like make sure that our like overall branding works out well and that the community also just gets or realizes that there is a very attractive opportunity for them out there.
Yeah, for sure. You need to search the best thing for you and for everyone. Talking about marketing and partnership. So maybe we can talk
Exactly.
about that later.
Yeah.
So I have a question more about developers and how do dApps built on Roost benefit from the Roost Collective DAO?
um Also a good question again. I think Same to what I mentioned before. So becoming part of the Rootstock collective for all the established partners is quite a logical step because it just adds value to them, because they get an additional exposure like to the community, maybe also to a wider community that do not know about them yet, but they also have the opportunity to generate like additional revenue streams. And maybe now it's a good time like to already tease what's going to happen end of this month. So as I mentioned before, like so far we only have the grants program, right, which is more focused on the early stage builders. But we're gonna introduce something that we call the collective rewards program. The collective rewards program is basically the thing that I already teased a little around, like focus on the more established projects. It will be split in a builder part and into a backer part. The builder part basically allows builders to register, or not register like, but basically sign up for being a member of that collective rewards program on the Rootstock collective. And there will be like a bi-weekly treasury injection happening, and it will be spread across all those builders by votes. So basically, let's say for the first wave, so for the first rounds, maybe we get 10, 20 builders in. Every builder constantly basically pitches, this is why our project is cool, this is why we need additional funding, and this is why it's great like to support us. So basically everyone will be very active around like making sure to get enough votes in. And then the treasury based on the voting results will be distributed every 2 weeks between all those builders. So all existing projects on Rootstock would have the opportunity to get additional revenue streams in through that program. And then on the other side, and this is a bit further away, like this is end of November release, so 27th of November we hope to also have the second component of that collective rewards program live, which is more orientated for the backers, so the people that provide their votes, because for them we also want to make sure to have a fair value capture. So the idea is that the builders that participate in that whole program have the opportunity to provide some kickback into it in form of any rewards back to the community and back to the backers that gave them the votes in order to secure their revenue. And this can happen like in own tokens, this can happen in the rewards that they secured themselves, and just giving them a share of the cake as well there. So to really make it very interactive and very engaging for both sides.
Yeah, for sure. And the users can have a great of opportunities using Rooster Collective. I mean, you can develop or you can vote and you are saving something. It's only benefits here.
Exactly. It's
Want
a
to know
triple
this?
win at the end.
Yeah, that's right. So well, want to know, how does Rooster Collective envision its role within the future of decentralized finance?
um, I think with like making sure to have that opportunity to become that home for the builders and the backers, basically aiming to integrate like Bitcoin into the DeFi world, like offering almost like a bridge between like the decentralized financial services and like the Bitcoin's unparalleled security, like very similar to, I would say, like the mission statement of Rootstock itself. So it's really like to make sure to help that whole ecosystem to be built, but also to get sustainable over time.
Okay, nice. Want to know a little bit about maybe this could be, or it's not true, but what role do NFTs play in the Rooster Collective ecosystem, if any?
Also a good question, because we are just about to launch, or actually we already like had a first like NFT collection for the early stakers or early adopters like on the collective. So the first 101 people that got registered and staked received that exclusive badge, and there will be a whole program around badges that incentivize in all different mechanisms. So sometimes it can just be like a community reward for being active in the community. It can be something for the very early people like builders or backers or stakers or whatever. But there's going to be a whole program, and we're going to do it in different waves. And yeah, just stay tuned for it. So at the moment, you can already see in the DApp like there is the first batch already there, so people can look at it, and you will also see it in a lot of like profile pictures. You see it on Twitter already, like that people are using that NFT like as their profile pic. But there will be a lot of like future waves coming. So this is how we at the moment use NFTs mostly like in the context of the Rootstock Collective.
Sounds great. I think that's an interesting point for all the people who is in Rootstock and like so much the NFTs, no?
Yeah, absolutely.
So, want to know a little bit how will Rootstock Collective continue to incentivize innovation and attract new talent to the Bitcoin and Rootstock ecosystems?
Yeah, also similar to the points before, I think by building that full developer journey, like through the grants, hackathons, and then those new developer programs around like that collective reward program. But also, of course, like we still want to like make sure to attract a lot of like new and fresh talent, like to build on Bitcoin and on Rootstock, and that of course like can happen through hackathons in real world, but also sorry in real life, but also of course like online activities. And I think with giving them the opportunity of the revenue or like the value capture that they can generate through those different programs, but also allowing them like to basically get some extra exposure, right? Like, and like the bigger the community gets, the also easier it will become for new builders to just like join and automatically be exposed to a huge amount of people. So this ultimately should help like all the different builders, no matter at what stage they are, to basically either ramp up their existing business or kickstart their not yet existing business.
Okay, sounds great. Sounds great. So, uh, maybe this question is a little bit more about thinking in big things. So, I want to know how do you think Rootstock Collective can impact financial inclusion globally?
Whew. This is indeed a heavy one. This is a heavy one.
Yeah.
Um, I think this also has to do a lot like with the projects that we already see that build on Rootstock, right? Like there's a lot about like those real world use cases that are happening, opening like opportunities for the unbanked and underbanked, especially on the regions where it's really like hard to get like a fair access to any financial systems. And I think just by like giving that opportunity to the builders, but also to the backers, like that they can also participate and get like some fair value capture out of it, I think that helps already to generate something really good there for everyone, basically, and giving them that opportunity. Plus, of course, like the bigger such an ecosystem grows, the more accessible it will be over time. Like, and the more easy it will also be, not only in the builder side, but also like on any like kind of participation side to just join and prosper from it. So I hope that kind of answers the question, but I know like this one is a big one, like the financial inclusion
Yeah.
globally. This is a I would say like minimum 10-year plus mission, right?
Yeah.
And if not even longer, but like I mean, if we even can just play a little role in that whole bigger piece, it would really be fantastic to see.
Yeah, for sure. But it's a question. Maybe it's important to know every day that Rootstock Collective can get at that point that
No,
joining into the financial system and supporting all things of Rootstock. It's important to have that in mind.
yeah, absolutely, fully agree.
So yeah. So well, I think the last two questions, but I have one interesting question is if I'm a random user and I want to join into Rootstock Collective, what I need to do?
If you are a random user,
Yeah.
yeah,
I,
basically you just need to go to the website like rootstockcollective.xyz. You need to get into the D app with join DAO, like it's the button on the top right side. You should hold some riff, and then you can use your riff, convert them into staked riff, and ever since then, like you can just immediately start playing around. And of course, you can also just be active on the forum. So without even like directly like being very active like with proposals or with voting, you can also just be a forum member at the beginning and be very vocal. You can also join, of course, like our Telegram or on Twitter. Like the community is already growing quite well. we are just, yeah, like I said, like a month old, and I think on Telegram it's almost 5,000 users already, and on Twitter it's already a bit more than 6 or 6.8 ish. So the community is growing quite rapidly, and it's open for everyone. Like again, no matter if you're a builder, if you're a backer, if you're a supporter, if you're just interested in learning more about it, become part of that community, and it's super easy. And it's also a very welcoming community. There's a lot of great people already in it, like very interactive, very engaging. So yeah, just join.
That's very good advice for the people. So I think, yeah, right now is displaying the Rootstock Collective web page. It's that rootstockcollective.xyz. See that?
Yes, exactly. Yeah,
And everybody can join. And I think there's a big button that say join DAO. So it's
exactly,
pretty
exactly.
easy to start.
Yeah.
You can lose on that. So well, I want to make you the last question is what is the one thing you would like people to know or understand about Rootstock Collective?
Hmm. Yeah, this is also a deeper one.
Yeah.
So I think the main mission of the Rootstock Collective is really like it's about empowerment, right? It's about empowering the community, the builders, the backers, and lead innovation on Bitcoin, like turning decentralized ideals into reality by basically allowing everyone, like everyone who's participating, to have a voice in its future. And I think like that's the core of it, right? Like it's more than a governance platform. Like it's really like a movement, basically, if you will, to bring Bitcoin like into the next era of decentralized finance. And we recently hear a lot about it, right? Like that are also other Bitcoin layer twos, like talking about Bitcoin Fi or BTC Fi or whatever name they give it. Like, but there's a lot happening on top of Bitcoin, because historically we all know like Bitcoin was mainly like for the miners or for the holders, right? But this is
Yeah.
not like reflecting the full system. So I think it gives that opportunity to make that happen. And of course, one thing I would like to add here is also in terms of the sustainability. At the moment, like of course, like a lot of the treasury that will be in the DAO is just like funded by or subsidized and funded by donations. But the overall long-term goal is also to make that really like sustainable. So we have the opportunity, and this is also part of the roadmap that we just put on for proposal, that we in the future want to start reallocating Rootstock Labs share of like all the transaction fees that are generated on Rootstock into the DAO, and also like all RIF protocols that are built on Rootstock, like the native ones, that also all the fees generated of those protocols will go into the DAO treasury to support that growth and fuel that growth of those new projects, to really also have the opportunity to have that long-term sustainability of the whole thing.
Yeah, okay, sounds great. For me, it was a pleasure having you here talking about Rootstock Collective. That sounds a great project and I think have a lot of future. So thank you so much for coming here and talk with us.
Thank you so much, Jan, for having me. I really appreciated it, and yeah, thanks to you guys for giving me the opportunity to talk about the Rootstock Collective. And yeah, for everyone out there, just join. There's no cost involved. You can just like hang around in the Telegram or in the forum, or you can be very active on the DAO itself. It's definitely an interesting journey to be part of. Thank you guys so much. Have a great rest of the day.
Thank you all. Remember, everyone,
Thanks.
here is like the link of Rootstock Collective. Please follow us and stay tuned for the next weekend, the next Talk with Seto. Goodbye.
Perfect. Thanks a lot.